Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back to So today I have a fresh Q&A. No, actually it's a frequently asked questions, an FAQ video for you guys. After having done a lot of pharmacy licenses by now, trust and believe I got answers. Okay. So I'm just going to go through a few aspects of a community pharmacy license in South Africa currently. This is for August 2025. So it's fresh, hot out of the press. And this information is going to help you guys navigate the process and really answer some key and crucial questions in case you wanted to do it by yourself. Which, of course, if you'd like us to assist, we are a consulting company, and this is what we do. We breathe, we eat, and we sleep farming, licensing, and all things compliance. So let's look at the process really quickly first. So, to license a community pharmacy in South Africa today, you will require first and foremost a premise. This is the facility, the actual shop or store that you're going to be operating from. And that's number one. You can't license something which isn't tangible. So you cannot license an online pharmacy. You cannot license a person or an idea of a pharmacy, because we sometimes get asked, can I just get the license and then sort out the premise later? No, negative. You cannot do that. You need to have a premise. And the reason being is that the compliance therein relies on the actual location. If you're too close, proximity is a huge issue, especially in urban areas. If you're too close to an existing community pharmacy, that can be a big problem. Automatic rejection almost in every case. If you are in a too densely populated area, that can actually be a set off. But again, these are like little nitty gritties and nuances that come in, especially with rural areas. Proximity may shift. But for the most part, and in general, the location, the exact address, and preferably the GPS coordinates are going to be the things that you need to start the licensing process. It doesn't mean that the premise has to be built or ready for use from day one of your application. It could just be the ground, okay? If you're going to build a store or a shop there, you can still not have broken ground, but at least let your ownership of the title deed or your rental agreements be in place, have an intention to lease or something, so that we can ascertain that this will be the address. When the first inspection happens and the Department of Health comes through, they verify location, address, and distance to other similar premises. The second thing is the GPP compliance of this premise. So once you've identified the location, you're going to have to make sure that the size, the layout, the activities, and the staff all line up to compliance. This is now later on in your application process. Once you've been recommended and your application is progressing towards recording, you're going to have to make sure these things are in place before you record your pharmacy. But we're getting there. So after you've established that you've identified an area, you now need to have the documentation for it. So like I said, you can either have a lease agreement or an intention to lease or an ownership document of the premise or that area. Then you're going to have a company, right? Because you can't register a pharmacy under your personal or under an individual. It has to be a registered company, a private company, a CC, whichever type of organization, but it has to be a registered one. So you're going to have to get those documents. Again, if you need assistance, we can help. We can even scout for you. We do scouting on the whole of South Africa. So if you have a specific area you'd prefer, we can look for premises that are suitable in that area with your specs, your preferences. We can also help you register your company if that's something that you have not done yet. Um, and the preferred type of company also, we can advise on that. Then you will need to have your activities straight. So you don't just open a pharmacy to open a pharmacy. You have to understand the community you're going into. If you're based in an older, aging community, your services better be tailored to them. You're not going to sell a lot of contraceptives and morning afters and have sexual health educational talks with them if they're older and more mature. You then have to consider things like MTM, um, medication safety, drug utilization reviews, and other relevant services. So understand the community you're going into, understand what their need is going to be, and then tailor that to your pharmacy. You want to have activities that really match the community, but also that match national requirements. Pharmacy Council and the Department of Health want to know how are this how are these services, how's your pharmacy going to help the community? What relation will you have with other providers of pharmaceutical services in the area? Is there a hospital? Is there a private clinic nearby? Is there a public government clinic nearby? How do you guys tend or intend on collaborating, if at all? Or how will your services kind of assist with the current offerings? Are you filling any gaps? Are you enhancing any needs, et cetera, et cetera? So again, if you need us to help you tailor your activities to make sure they qualify for your area and that they match these requirements, contact us and we'll help you. The next thing you'll need is a responsible pharmacist. Okay, if you're not a pharmacist yourself who's going to act as the responsible pharmacist for the community pharmacy, you absolutely need to find a registered and active pharmacist who will serve that role. Whether in the beginning as an interim position, just for the application purposes, until you find your permanent staff, 3 to 4 months down the line, or it can already be the permanent RP who's starting with you from the licensing stage. If you don't have a responsible pharmacist, if you need an interim responsible pharmacist, contact us because we can assist with that. We can borrow you a RP locum for the purposes of your application. And then when the recording stages comes around, you can then decide if you want to continue with them, if they also want to continue with you. That's an agreement between the two of you, or if you now want to hire your full-time and permanent responsible pharmacist. The next thing you will need before you start your project is a budget, because you can't do anything without money. So you really have to be careful here, because the budget, will make or break your entire pharmacy plans. You cannot skim around with starting a pharmacy because there are a lot of upfront costs. You will need, and I've mentioned this in several other videos, go and watch previous videos on budgets. You will need a minimum, an absolute minimum of 500,000 rands. That's cutting it really low for a really tiny premise, perhaps 55 to 75 square meters, and without a clinic. If you're looking to have a clinic, your budget needs to stretch, and so does your space. A clinic doesn't mean that you have a huge area, but it just means that it needs to be suitable to support those additional screenings and services. If you're going to be taking urine samples, blood samples, you need to have a toilet, a bathroom that works where patients can go into. You need a space, or preferably like a bed where they can lay or sit on. You need fridges for your immunization if you're going to be doing vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. So all these things need to be added to your budget and to your layout. So your budget is really important. You're also going to have your startup costs versus your operational costs, your ongoing costs, your overheads. your daily runnings, your salary. So all those things come in after your startup costs. If you would like a breakdown, forecast, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, we can do that for you to help you project what amount of cash flow you may need in a typical setting that closely resembles your own. Just message us and ask uh, at a fee, obviously. Then coming back to the GPP requirements for your premise, your layout is the biggest deal breaker. This is your make or break. You will absolutely need to have professionally drawn layouts of your pharmacy to make sure that everything that needs to be portrayed is portrayed and demonstrated in the correct areas in compliance. Now, if you're going to require a site map in addition to that, because usually they do also want to see the surroundings, you're also going to show 3D images of what the pharmacy is going to look like, the rendering, that also can be provided. We have a wonderful architect that works on two actually that work on pharmacy layouts for years now. So the expertise is there. The options are there too. You can edit, modify, play around with your layouts and have revisions done prior to finalizing how it's going to look. So if you're interested in that, we can help. But really, it's all about ticking all these check boxes before you actually begin. This is the due diligence, the homework that you have to ensure you've done that gives you security and assurance that, okay, I'm on the right track, I'm doing the right thing, and this is going to work. One of the reasons they say most businesses fail before the 5-year mark or before the 2-year mark is because of poor preparation. So you want to ensure that you are well prepared. Now, we've introduced a training for all our pharmacy license applicants. When you get your license, you also get onboarding training for your pharmacy, your brand new pharmacy, on things to look out for, first things to attempt, things to do immediately, contracts to put in place, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a great tool to all those who are not pharmacists, but even to pharmacists who have never run their own pharmacies before. So lastly, I just want to touch on a few really frequent answers that we always get, frequently asked questions. A lot of our clients ask us about, do you kind of have how much budget do I need? So we've answered that. What are the premises? What areas are good? What kind of strategy do I need to opt for? So in terms of strategies, we often also recommend pharmaceutical care strategies for client and patient acquisition and retention, marketing strategies to be seen and heard, and various others. So those are available, and you will need those in this day and age. And we also recommend things like percentage budgeting. So in your pharmacy, your front shop needs to be this percentage of your dispensary items, your cosmetics, your foods or snacks, et cetera, et cetera. All these things have numbers, all these things have percentages, and it really helps you keep track of your overall sales and turnover percentage, profit margins, et cetera. So another very frequent question we get is, how long does this process take? For us to compile a compliant application, we take up to 10 days. Sometimes it's less if everything is quickly in place, if the documentation is received on time. But from the day we submit until you get your final outcome, your license, it's up to 4 months. Now, it has been known to be more for certain complicated cases, but on average, 3 to 4 months is what you can expect. And this means that from that 3 months mark, when you've been recommended, for example, and you're license has gone for printing at the Department of Health, you can then start with your recording and registering your pharmacy, getting a practice number, getting your medical aids registered, getting your accounts with all the manufacturers or suppliers, wholesalers, and starting to get things going for your pharmacy to be operational. Now, the last thing I want to mention is accompaniment. A lot of people have different levels of accompaniment and needs. So, if you're one who's very knowledgeable, you may just need help with the paperwork of submitting your license and being done. But if you want someone to hold your hand all the way through until you're ready to trade on day one, fully operational, we have the VIP package available for that. It's outlined in the description below. It's on our website. You can request it by email. But this is a fully encompassing, really pampering service with pre and post licensing services, including your launch. It includes your hiring of staff. It has a stock value amount that we start up your stock with. It has your furniture or fittings amount that we start you off your shelvings with. It has all the applications mentioned for practice numbers, medical aids registrations with your major national registration medical aids like GEMS, Discovery, POLMED, and all the others. So it's really all encompassing. And then we have a business package, which is a little bit less, but it'll get you through your license and post licensing services with all the paperwork and documentations needed. And then we have a small comprehensive service with which just gets you your license. So all these packs are really flexi. It gives you the option to have more or less accompaniment and to really thrive on your new pharmacy community journey. Um, so we're here to encourage you guys, go for entrepreneurship, go for pharmapreneurship, really stick your neck out with confidence, having done your homework and having gone through all these checklists and really try your hand at owning your own pharmacy, especially to my pharmacist colleagues. We are rooting for you here at Farmers and really hope you're going to do fantastic in your new endeavors. All right, that's all for me. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay farming.